Welcome to For Yore. I'm your host, John Adamick. My guest today is Dr. Bob Shackleford, President, Founder, CEO of Shackleford Leadership Institute. Dr. Shackleford is a consultant and coach providing outstanding, relevant, dynamic leadership development training for business, education, church, community, and military organizations. He is a keynote speaker. He is an executive coach. He's also a very nice person, a good friend of mine, and my mentor. And I'm very grateful to have you here today, Dr. Shackleford. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm so happy to be here and spend this time with you.
Well, thank you. I've been following your post on LinkedIn, and from what I can tell, your work within the Shackleford Leadership Institute has continued to grow since you launched it earlier this year. And I'm going to ask you to talk about that in a minute. But I want to say for the folks who are listening or watching for the first time, Dr. Shackleford is a kind and generous and humble person, but his results in team building and in leadership really do speak for themselves. And we'll hear a little bit more about that. But I noticed, Dr. Shackleford, that many of your recent events have been at colleges throughout North Carolina and the surrounding states. And so we want to hear some about that a little bit too. I also want to hear about the Dr. Robert S. Shackleford Jr. Allied Health Center. So that is quite an honor to have a school, especially an institution like that named after you. So I want to hear about that. But can you start just kind of giving us an overview of where you're at right now and what it is that you're wanting to do and connect with people through this podcast interview?
Yes, well, I'm so happy to be asked to share about the Shackleford Leadership Institute. When I got ready to retire a little over a year ago, I wasn't really prepared mentally. I could not imagine myself retired. I thought, well, what in the world am I going to do? And when I get up in the morning, I mean, what's there to look forward to? What's there to do? What meaningful activity will I be involved in? My meaning is important to me, and I wanted to have something purposeful to do. And I wondered what I would do for my adrenaline fix. Well, as I thought about what I would do, it seemed to me that the one thing that I was passionate about, in addition to being president of Randolph Community College, was leadership training. I have a minor in leadership development in my doctoral program at UNCG. I've taught military. In the military, I've taught leadership. I've done leadership training for commanders retreats. I taught leadership training at High Point University. And while I was president at Randolph Community College, I did leadership training in organizations and colleges all around the state. And I thought, it's natural. I'll take all of my experience over my whole career and try to put that into something that will help other people after I step down from my former position. And John, I'm loving it. I absolutely love it. I wake up every morning pumped up. I sit up at night getting ready for the next event. And I don't know why I was so concerned about it, because I'm just having the time of my life.
That's fantastic. And that's apparent in the time that we've spent together over coffee or otherwise, and just kind of talking about what it is that you're bringing to the world of leadership development. Leadership is so important to the success of any organization. And there are a lot of people out there who perhaps understand some of the traditional models of leadership, but they're looking for something that's going to help their team thrive, specifically in times of change or pending change, as well as perhaps during times of crisis, or just looking for a way to understand how to maximize opportunity. And you've been doing all of those things. Specifically in North Carolina, we've got Carolina Core coming, which is absolutely a boom to the state of North Carolina, with all kinds of multi-billion-dollar projects coming. One of the projects you were telling me about, you were working with the local community and helping them to be ready for that kind of change. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, there is massive change coming to the the central region of North Carolina, the Piedmont Triad. There are a number of major industries that are investing heavily, some in Greensboro, some down in Chatham County. In particular, in Northeast Randolph County, Toyota is coming in with a multi-billion-dollar investment building a huge plant for batteries for their electric vehicles. In fact, I heard someone state last week that the construction of that mega site is now the largest land construction project in the United States going on at the current time.
Wow.
And so it is huge, and they're going to be hiring thousands of people. They're investing billions of dollars.
Right.
And when you think about the impact of that, not only on Randolph County, but think Randolph County, a little county of 146,000 people, mainly rural, agriculture, manufacturing, but the impact is going to be profound and lasting. It's going to be a transformative addition to our community. So that's good news, but it also brings challenges. I mean, there has to be heavy investment in infrastructure and water and sewer and the impact on existing industries there. Well, if all our employees go to Toyota and they're going to pay more, how am I going to keep my businesses going? And it's a huge change that is positive, but it also has a set of stresses related to it. And so last fall, when the Chamber of Commerce in Randolph County had their annual retreat, their planning retreat, they asked me to come and speak about change because that's what's headed our way. And I could sense in the room all of that anxiety about, well, what are my employees going to leave and go to work for Toyota? How's this going to impact me? It's going to create new communities, new schools, new shopping centers. It's going to bring in people who aren't from the same conservative, small, rural county that we are. It's going to bring in new ideas, new people. And it's just going to be massive change. And so they asked me to come speak on the truth about change. And I talked about changes good, change is bad, change is stressful, change is inevitable, but then zeroed in on the point of the whole presentation, which was change is an opportunity. Yes. And we talked about what a great opportunity this is going to be, our tax base, our new restaurants, new industries coming in, new jobs. It's going to be a great transformation, but it comes, any major change brings a lot of anxiety. And so I was happy to be invited to come in, and we had about 150 community leaders at the retreat and be able to share with them a number of thoughts about change and how this could benefit us.
Excellent. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I've lived in North Carolina now, I think, for 26 years, and I love it here. It is our home. And one of the things that working in human resources has shown me is that we have to look for opportunities to celebrate and embrace change. And one of the things I enjoy about our interactions is that you are an encourager. You're an encourager personally for me, but also I think just for people, for organizations. And so in addition to getting your experience of being a leader, of working with high-level change and change management and bringing all of that through, whether it's a military or higher education or religious organizations, bringing that in and helping people to see what they can do to be ready for and to maximize, and if possible, to enjoy the change that's going to come.
Yes, absolutely. People get in their comfortable spaces, and they don't like those comfortable spaces challenged, and so I tend to look at life like this. We're at point A. What would the very best point B look like?
Okay.
And if I could decide what that point B is, now all the energy and time and resources I would have spent zigzagging around point A, I could put that into building a bridge to point B.
That's
And
right.
so the best is yet to be. And,
That's right.
and if I can see that and I can articulate that and I can get a team with me to help, let's build a bridge from here to there, then that becomes the next point A, and we look at the next point B.
That's right.
Life is good, and it has so many opportunities, and so yeah, I like positive minded people. You have to deal with realities. You have to deal sometimes with the brutal truths, but in the big picture, there are many opportunities, and I like striving for those opportunities and keeping people encouraged around that journey.
Absolutely. And you do that very well. You've done that for me personally and professionally. I think when we first connected, one of the things that stood out to me as I kind of saw what you were posting on LinkedIn, is that you are uh, someone who values relationships. And that so even up to present day, this has been 8, 9 months now that we've connected, but you'll celebrate opportunities to interact with people, whether they're people that you've known for a while, perhaps other college presidents or people that you've worked with in your administration who have grown in their careers and now are presidents of their own college or working in a high level position, or it could be a student or recent graduate of Randolph Community College. It could be somebody that you've known and have seen their progress and you celebrate that, or it could be just a personal interaction. Like today, I had lunch with somebody or I had coffee with somebody. Tell me why that's so important to you.
Well, I really do believe if I had to condense my philosophy of leadership into into the most simple expression, the most fundamental truth about leadership to me is it's all about relationships. That everything you can say about leadership, there's shelves and books, and it's all about relationships. And I have experienced that. I've seen it, and that's what I value, and that's what I treasure. And I do. I ran into a student this week who is an intern at a printing shop, and she had just she's an advertising and graphic design student at Randolph Community College, and she had just designed for clients in her internship. Two clients, she had designed their business cards, and she was so proud of that. And I said, "Well, go get them." And she got them and held them up, and I stood beside her, and we had a picture and put it on social media, and it just made her day that she was being celebrated for her work. And to me, to be able to just give a word of encouragement, to recognize her for what she's doing, that there are people who encouraged us along the way, and that helped make us who we are. And if I can reach back and help encourage somebody else, that's just one of the great joys of life. But John, you're right. It is all about relationships. When I think about the day I became president of Randolph Community College, I remember sitting in that office that morning. It was January 2nd, 2007. And I sat there in that office and I'm looking around, I'm looking at my desk, and I'm thinking, well, okay, here I am. I have the title, I have the office, I have the job description, I have the formal authority. But at this point, in no way am I a leader in this community. Here I sit. Years later, as I became a leader in the college and in the community, what was the difference? I didn't get a promotion. I didn't get a new job description. I didn't get a new office. I didn't get a new title. The only difference was that later I now know the school superintendents. I now know the commissioners. I now know my legislators. I now know the industry leaders. I now know the people at the chamber and the people at economic development. I've now built a relationship with the sheriff. It's those relationships. And what I've learned is that relationships will not solve every problem that confronts you, but most of the good things you ever are able to accomplish, you accomplish out of relationships that you have nurtured along the way. And that has been my experience. And I know how much the people who have impacted me the most are the people who cared about me and built a relationship with me. That's the ones who've impacted me. If I can be that person to someone else coming along, that's what my life is about.
Thank you. And I can see that in our interactions. Um, so you have brought an impressive background to the Shackleford Leadership Institute, and obviously it bears your name. And I know that names are very important. Can you tell us why you chose Shackleford Leadership Institute?
Well, I I thought a lot about the name. I thought, people put on there like Shackleford and Associates, Shackleford Consulting, Shackleford. Well, I wanted it to be something different than that and more than that. And so when I decided on Shackleford Leadership Institute, I thought, okay, that kind of gets at it. I want to go and do leadership academies. I don't just want to do. I can do presentations, I can do keynote speeches, but also we'll do build a relationship. Again, relationships with a college or an organization. I'm working with a number of local community organizations doing a leadership academy, which takes place over 5 months. I build a relationship with them, go in. So I wanted to be an institute. But John, the most time I spent was on the subtitle. I thought, well, I don't want it to be like leadership training, leadership consulting. And so I thought about what is it I really want to do with Shackleford Leadership Institute. And then I kept thinking about it, and I would come up with something that's not it. And finally, I decided, and I felt good with inspiring excellence in leadership. And that's kind of what I try to do. It's not like, okay, I know about leadership and you don't. I'm a leader and you're not. I'm going to help make you a leader. That's not what it's about. I look at it like, okay, I'm a leader with a lot of experience. You're a leader. How can I inspire you to become even more excellent in your leadership? Can I use my insights and my readings and my study and my experience and my career? Can I use that in any way to shed any light on your leadership and how you can become more excellent? And so when I decided on Shackleford Leadership Institute, that was the direction I wanted to go, but it was incomplete until I added that phrase, inspiring excellence in leadership. And that's what I want to do. You're a leader. If I can help you, inspire you to be a better leader, then we're going to have a great relationship.
Absolutely. When we first connected, one of the things that I thought of as I was reading about what you were doing and what you were hoping to do through the Shackleford Leadership Institute, and really even before we connected in person, I thought of some of my friends in the human resources and organizational development world. And in the 23 years that I've been privileged to work alongside people who are really helping to shape the culture of our world through the culture of workplace, I thought about the fact that we're always looking for good information and good perspectives. And I thought, Dr. Shackleford would be a great speaker, a keynote speaker at some of these HR associational meetings or some of these other big events that go on around the country or around the world. And now with the prominence of virtual meetings, it seems like really there's endless opportunities for people to connect with what you're doing and your commitment to relational excellence and inspiring excellence in leadership. But I also know in talking with you that, quite frankly, it doesn't sound like you've had a lot of chance to really promote it because you're getting so many speaking engagements. Just today, as we were setting up, you said, I just got another speaking engagement. I said, well, I'm not surprised. And so where have you come in the last few months with your focus with the Leadership Institute, and where do you see it going in the coming 6 months or a year?
Well, that's a great question. When I retired in July 1st of last year, I set out the first 6 months because I was a state employee as president of the college, and you can't have anything to do with any other state organization. So I said, I'll start in January. Well, I started organizing in January and started kind of marketing a little bit in February. So it's only been a very short time. But currently, I'm working with 11 or 12 colleges around the state. And I just did the senior leadership strategic planning retreat for a university in Virginia,
Okay.
and have talked with colleges in some other states. I also went and did a leadership presentation at Amarillo College in Texas. So it's
Wow.
mainly in North Carolina, but I have gone
Sure.
outside. But I'm working with 11 or 12 colleges right now, and I have some very promising negotiations going on with 3 or 4 other colleges right now to add them, add some leadership academies with them. I'm also working with some county organizations, some local governments, and working with the public health department, working with a senior adult association who has 60 employees and want leadership training for them. I'm working for a couple of municipalities. I'm doing a lot of I'm getting a lot of invitations right now for keynote speeches. In fact, it's funny what you're saying. I did get an invitation when we were setting up here today. And last week, I went down and was having lunch with the president of Isothermal Community College in Rutherford County. And when I got back in the car, I checked my emails and I had 3 invitations for other speaking engagements. And so it's going like that. I'm adding right now. I have some speeches coming up to some different professional organizations, like for example the Association of Community College Business Officers. I have 3 speaking engagements coming up with them. I'm going to be speaking to the state conference of the Human Services State Human Services Organization. I just got an invitation sitting here this morning to speak to an IT statewide organization. And so I'm doing a lot of conventions and conferences and things like that. And in addition, I do executive coaching. I've gotten certified in executive. I've done coaching all my career, but I've gotten certified in it since I retired. And I now have 6 clients. I was sitting at supper with my family last week, and my phone binged. I opened it up, and it was a man who had read on LinkedIn about it and said, I followed you for some time, and I'm at a turning point of my career, and I would love for you to take me on as my coach. And I wrote it back, and we're planning on having breakfast this coming Saturday. I'm going to start working with him. So I've got about 6 or 7 coaching clients right now, and more in the works. Some are presidents, some are CEOs, some are executive directors of nonprofits, and so I'm doing basically 4 things, John. I do keynote speeches, graduations, convocations, conferences, things like that. So keynote speeches, I do executive coaching, I do single topic presentations. Like a college would say, look, we need some help with supervisor training. Can you help us with that? Absolutely. And we'll schedule, I'll go in there and meet with their people and we talk about supervisor training. Or we need help with civility in the workplace. Can you help with that? Absolutely. We need help with serving students with radical hospitality. Can you, usually they say customer service. I say, I'm not going to talk about customer service. I'm going to talk about radical hospitality. And so they say, can you help us with that? So single topic presentations based on the need the college has or the organization. And then fourthly, leadership academies, where I go in for once a month, like for 5 months, and we build this relationship, and we do a book study or 2, and we do various topics, and we do some activities, and we do some assessments. In those leadership academies, it's not about the individual topics, it's about the essence of leadership. How do you become a leader? How do you think like a leader? What are the qualities I need to grow in leadership? It's not about, well, how do you hold an effective meeting? What do you know about the budget? No, it's about the essence of leadership. So those are 4 basic things: the keynote speeches, the executive coaching, the individual topics, and the leadership academies. And I love all 4 and enjoying it immensely.
Well, I'm sure it's all very well received. I know I'm always learning from you. And I was, speaking of learning, I was pleased to learn of the recent honor, the recognition of the Allied Health Center. Can you speak to that?
Well, I don't know when I've ever been more surprised and honored in my life. Um, we were building an Allied Health Center, a big L-shaped 2-story modern Allied Health Center at Randolph Community College, with a lot of virtual capacity and a lot of simulation. In the medical field, you use simulation a lot now, and all the healthcare programs are going to go into this building, and it's a large, magnificent building, and they planned a presentation on the campus. They invited the community to come in and planned a presentation. I was told that was to announce our fundraising goal for this coming year and how we're serving students and all of that. And when the board chair got up, he said, well, really the purpose of this meeting is we want to announce that we are naming this the Dr. Robert S. Shackleford Jr. Allied Health Center. John, I about fell over. And then they bring my family out from the building. They've invited them to come, and they come out and join me. And I'm like, what? When I was in school, I never imagined being president of a college. I never imagined having my name on a building, and it was such an honor to know that this building that I put so much into, and that I was so excited about serving our community with nurses and radiographers and CNAs and all these different career fields, that they were going to be studying in the Dr. Robert S. Shackleford Jr. Allied Health Center. So it was just, I never imagined it, never dreamed of it. And when they told me, I couldn't even believe it.
Well, that is wonderful. And I think it's very fitting. And I'm so happy for you and your family and everybody who has shared the excitement and watching you be able to continue to thrive as you change roles. I think that's fantastic. You also have a connection to community. And I heard you mention earlier, you're talking about Randolph County and just in general, the impact on community of the growth that's happening there, this landmark growth. We also have someone who's well known in our community, and I've not met him, but you know him fairly well, and you were involved in recognizing him recently. Can you speak to that? Talking about Mr. Petty?
Yes. Well, that's another amazing story. My life has been, I've been so blessed. I've been blessed in ways that I never imagined. When I grew up, as I was growing up, my father was a Richard Petty fan. And so he took me in my first race when I was 8. And I was a Richard Petty fan. And I was a face in the crowd. Just, everybody loved Richard Petty, and I did too. And I never imagined ever even meeting the man. But through the years, and as I became president of Randolph Community College, I came to know him. I came to know his family. Very close friends with his daughters, and I know Kyle very well. But Richard and I became friends, and one of the things that happened was we had 2 automotive programs at RCC. We had a automotive auto body program where you do body work on cars, and also the auto mechanics program where you work on the engines and all. And we had those 2 programs, and they were kind of scattered in pieces all over the campus. And I led the charge to have a new automotive center built, and worked with Mr. Petty to have it, got his permission to name it the Richard Petty Education Center. And he came and spoke at our dedication of that, and his daughter was there. And I've gone to the annual fish fries at his house for many years. But recently we've been working for the last several years on getting a professional very professional, world-class bronze statue of Richard and Linda, his wife, his deceased wife, a statue of them in Randleman. And so I was the chair of that committee, and we had to raise a lot of money. I worked with a world-class bronze sculptor out of Seagrove. He actually did the Reagan for the Reagan Library.
Wow.
And I mean, he does work all over the world. And we got him to do it, and we just dedicated that a couple months ago. And Richard and all of his children and everybody came to it. They were so pleased, and I even changed the way I go home now. I changed so I can drive by that statue going home instead of taking a shortcut just to see it. And so I've been very blessed. It's funny. I never dreamed that I would ever, when I was growing up, I thought I'd never even meet him, much less sit down in his office and talk with him or get a phone call from him or him come to my office. My sisters asked me, knowing that I was a huge Richard Petty fan, said, well, what's it like to end up being friends with somebody you idolized as a child? I said, well, it's kind of like if you grew up and accidentally became Elvis's dentist. So I enjoyed that relationship, and people ask me, he is exactly the same way. You see him publicly with that big smile and handshake and all. He's the same. That's not a facade. That's not a public face. That's him. And he helped build that sport, because when other drivers were jumping in their trucks and driving back home to the shop, he would sit out on the side of the fence and sit there and sign autograph after autograph for every person until the sun went down. And so he's quite a person. I've enjoyed my relationship with him.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's apparent to me that you have a passion for what you do, whatever it is, whether it's a community activity or through your leadership professionally or through your new venture with the Shackleford Leadership Institute. I think, as you were saying about Mr. Petty, I would say that about you, for folks who may be interested in connecting with you to see how they can partner to continue to develop excellence in leadership at their organization. I would say that you are that way. Anytime that I've met you or spent time with you or talked with you, you've always been very gracious, but also just very real and authentic. And that's one of the things that struck me as I was preparing for this. You've done a lot in the last few months to build and I guess ready the Shackleford Leadership Institute for the next phase of growth. What do you see in 2 years or 3 years? Do you have a vision for what this could look like? Will you be doing perhaps expanding to some virtual presentations or keynotes, or what would that look like?
Yes, I do see expansion in that area in virtual presentations. Right now, I'm driving all over the state and putting in as much effort as I can to be there, and I hope to be able to continue that. And I'm hoping that I will be able to speak more to state organizations and state conferences. And you talked about HR, and you mentioned to me about HR conferences, and may have opportunities to do some of that. But I'm looking forward to building some relationships with academies. I'll give you an example of one of the things I see in the long run. I talked to Dr. Chad Bledsoe, who is the president of Montgomery Community College, and he wanted some leadership training, and he knew me and knew what I was doing, and so we met and we talked about it, and he asked me about the leadership academies, and I said yes, and I explained that this is based on what I did as president at Randolph Community College. When I first got there, I started a leadership academy. I called it PELA, President's Educational Leadership Academy. And in that, I would spend a whole semester with a small group of faculty and staff. We met regularly throughout the semester. I had one-on-ones with each of them. We had group meetings. We had book studies, and it it was a relationship building experience that ended with a more of an excitement about stepping out and becoming a more effective leader. And so I thought, well, this will probably last 2 or 3 semesters, and then the people who are interested in that kind of thing will have done it. And that's it. Well, it kept on, and there was another group wanting to do it, and another group wanting to do it. And finally, some of those who had already done it said, we'd like a part 2. And so they called it advanced PILA. So the last 5 or 6 years of my presidency there, I would do PILA in the fall and advanced PILA round 2 in the spring. So as I said, I thought it would peter out in 2 or 3 semesters. Well, when I left there 15 and a half years later, there was a waiting list to get in when I retired. And so when I would get up at a convocation in one of the presentations, I'd get certificates to those who had just finished PILA, President's Educational Leadership Academy. And I would just say, I've got all these hundreds of faculty and staff out there. I said, by the way, how many of you have been through PILA? And over half the audience would raise their hands. And I thought, wow, it has made an impact. Yeah. This is leadership training for over half. So when I was talking with Dr. Bledsoe at Montgomery, I'm starting this week, this Wednesday, I'm starting a president's, leadership academy for Montgomery Community College. I'm starting it Wednesday afternoon, and I'll do it all this semester. He's already said, I want you to come back and do it with another group in the spring and then come back in the fall. He said, after 2 years, you will have taught half of my faculty and staff. That's impact. Yeah. So it's not like a presentation one day and some people right. Say, well, didn't he give a speech one day? No, this is a relationship with faculty and staff over a period of months, and it's gonna pay rich dividends in leadership development over time. So that's one of the things I want to do. I'm hoping that these organizations and schools that I'm working with now, that they'll see the impact of it. And now I have another group of people that work for me that I want to benefit from this. And we'll have repeat business. And after a while, you've impacted over half their employees. That's the kind of thing that I see. Having a long-term, it's one thing to go and give a speech here and give a speech there. And I enjoy doing that and I love it. But one of the things I hope to grow in is these leadership academies with replicated the next spring and the next fall and the next spring, so that over a period of time you're affecting whole organizations, not just small groups of people, but a whole organization. That's just part of what I see. There's so many opportunities out there, and I wondered if it would even work. And right now I'm about to have to hire somebody to keep up with my calendar and my email.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good situation to be in when you're growing a business. I'm really happy that you've enjoyed such success. It's not a surprise to anybody who follows you on LinkedIn or otherwise. You've got a program coming up that people in North Carolina or others, people could travel to it if they want to, but you've got a couple programs coming up in November for leadership development, where you're going to be presenting to large groups, and that's going to be 2 different days, I think. Can you speak about that?
One of my colleagues that I work with closely, Jerry Ann Kelly, she's kind of a John Maxwell disciple. She's licensed to do some of his workshops and that kind of thing. And she and I work very closely together on a number of things. And on November 2nd, we are hosting a Live to Lead Leadership Day in Asheboro. And the same thing the next week on November 9th in Albemarle. And what this is, in the morning, she has a license with the Maxwell Association. In the morning, we are going to be bringing in on the big screen video. They're proprietary. You can't just order them. You have to be licensed to see them. Video presentations from a John Maxwell huge gathering in Orlando that he is doing in the next week or 2, and we're going to have access to the videos from that. We have 4 speakers: John Maxwell himself, Kendra Scott, who is a uh, she started a $1 billion business with $500. She won a national Entrepreneur of the Year award. And by the way, she's 28 years old when she did that. And she has stores all over the world. She is a design, jewelry and clothing and design. She has a store in Greensboro, in fact. And she's a much in demand speaker. Also, John Maxwell himself, who is the most sought after leadership speaker in the world.
Right.
Also, we have Marcus Buckingham.
Yes.
He is quite a speaker himself. Ryan Lee. Now, these people, now let me explain. I said, we're going to have presentations from these four people that you can't just go, you've got to come to an event like this. Ryan Leak charges $40,000 a speech. Kendra Scott charges between $50,000 and $95,000 a presentation. Buckingham charges $75,000, and Maxwell is between $100,000 and $200,000, which means we're going to have over $250,000 worth of speakers in the morning. Then we're going to have lunch. Then we're going to have some local major employers on a panel discussion with local community college presidents. The employers are going to talk about what they're needing in the workforce development, and the community colleges are going to talk about what they are offering to provide economic and workforce development in our communities. And then Jerry Ann and I are each going to give a presentation in the afternoon. It's going to be a full day of leadership, and the cost of it is less than $100.
Yeah,
we're expecting hundreds of people from the community to come. Businesses are buying up tickets. They're doing sponsorships. So a local business leader might say, well, I'd like to come to this. I like Maxwell. I'd like to hear these presentations. I want to see what Toyota is doing and what these other manufacturers, what is Technomark doing in our community. They want to come, and then they say, well, can I bring some of my people? Yes. We're expecting over 250 people to come to that, and the public is invited. If you want to come spend a great day with hearing some world-class leadership presentations and hearing from our local manufacturers and community college presidents, it's going to be an unprecedented day with great opportunities.
Yeah, it really does sound great. Of course, I've enjoyed Mr. Maxwell's books and hearing some of his presentations that are available online. And I've read Mr. Buckingham's books, a couple of those. And of course, I've met Jerry and Kelly and really enjoyed connecting with her. And I know she's got a passion for leadership and leadership development, and really does a good job representing the Maxwell brand and so forth. And of course, to hear you, I think that would be, my highlight of the day, because that's one thing I haven't had the opportunity to do, is to hear you to give a presentation. So we're going to have links to these things. We're going to have links to the Shackleford Leadership Institute when we post this interview. We're going to have some information and a link to the events of November 2nd and 9, Live to Lead. And we're also going to have some other information there. We may even have, I think we're going to have a picture of Dr. Shackleford and a very nice customized petty car. And I think I may even be, I got to ride in it once, and I'm not allowed to share what that experience was like. No, I'm just kidding. It was phenomenal. And I relish that. And that's a wonderful memory. Dr. Shackleford, you've got a lot going on. I really appreciate you making time today for me and for anybody who might be watching this. And I would encourage folks who are to share this information with your friends, your colleagues, those who are looking for excellence in leadership and growth. Anybody who has an interest in learning how to be better at relationships would benefit from this. Dr. Shackleford, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today?
I'm just profoundly grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. I respect and appreciate you so much, both as a colleague and a friend.
Thank you.
And you're such an encourager, and the opportunity to be here with you today is great. If anyone listening to this has, if you think that I can help in any way with leadership training, with an academy, with a single issue that your company is dealing with, or as a coach, sometimes they say it's lonely at the top, and it's hard to talk to your board about it. It's hard to talk to your staff about it. But if you want someone to help you think through things and bounce ideas off of, and be a mentor and a colleague and a coach, I would love to hear from you and be glad to work with you if I have anything to add to what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shackleford. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. And again, many thanks.
Sir.